We're live. What is going on? Oh, is it still private? I think we're actually live now. If anyone's here, type in the chat so I know it's working. There we go. Oh, guys, I was so stumped for like the first 3 minutes of this thing. I had it I had it set to private, and I was like, why is nobody showing up? I'm like, not even one person wants to watch this. All right, there we go. What's up, everybody? What's up, blank blank? What's up, UC Bon? Pronounced that wrong, I guarantee it. Sup, basement. Sup, Gongius person. What's up, Elm Tree Medical Center? There we go. Amelia, what's up? What's up, Riley? Reed, blank blank again. There we go. Seiko not, dude. Bro, just wanted to say that I think you're an incredible thinker and communicator. I deeply appreciate the content you put out. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Hello, what's up, Francesco? Have you been doing Keenan flaps? I have not been doing Keenan flaps. I haven't experimented with them enough to give an honest opinion, but they're basically just a pullover, so I'd imagine they're just fine. I've never really enjoyed an elbow weight loaded on the elbow pullover machine, so I can't imagine I would like a Keenan flap, but I am open to trying them. Sup, bro? What's up, Vlad? About to go into leg day boss, Mo. Let's get it, Mo. Crush it. Squats have been going crazy lately. Keep at it. What's up, Mark? Hey, BB, how's things? Much love from Poland. Let's go. Yeah, I'm at quarter Polish or so. Just got in with my 52 weekly sets of length and partials at 3 RIR, and I'm ready to watch this awesome stream. Let's go. I've only done like 48 of my sets this week. I got another day or two. JM Press Gang, let's get it. Do you like upright rows? I do like upright rows. Not one of my go-tos, but they are a totally fine lift, especially if you are in a home gym with limited equipment space. Any tips on getting jacked slash managing volume while playing a physically intense sport like rugby? Um, I would try and just do a traditional bodybuilding split if possible. If you need to modify, then go from there. So I'd probably revolve it around your more strenuous activities. So if you have a practice that's very physically demanding, ideally don't set an intense training session after that or even the day after that. Try and space those out the best you can. And then as far as games go, yeah, if you're physically kind of hurting and beat up, maybe take a day off or two. But ideally, less days in the gym might be a little bit better. Just try and keep your frequency at twice a week, I'd say. How to look like a Canadian Mike Menser? Just become me. Just get glasses, grow your stash, have dark hair, and be into bodybuilding. Love your unique takes. Have you done L sit slash V sit pull ups? There, the iliac pull down in calisthenics. I actually have done them. I experimented with them very briefly for a few weeks. Must have been 2 or 3, 4 months ago at this point. It was this year, and I liked them. I liked them. Home gym enjoyers, rise up. Let's go. Sup, man? What's up? The revived rover. Do you do power raises? Can they replace rows if they're done with the shoulder protraction and the stretch? Shoulder protraction, like in the stretch in the bottom? Or no, I'm confusing those with the loo raises. So power raises, I don't believe they can replace rows, no. But I do lying rear delt raises, emphasis on training the rear delts, and yes, I don't believe they can replace rows though for the traps. For the rear delts, yeah, they're better than rows. I heard NH saying he suggests doing preachers only till parallel. Should I go all the way down? Yeah, I would go all the way down and just go lighter because it is a different lift and you'll have to kind of get your joints to be able to handle that tension, that range of motion, just like a JM press. And you should be fine. So just ease into it, no rush. Add a little bit of weight each week, and you should be fine. What's your craziest story in a public gym? I'm so bad at thinking about stuff like that on the spot. So it will come to me at some point, but I don't know if I'll be able to think of one right now. I mean, aside from benching 500 for the first time, I don't know if I can think of anything off the top of my head. Been lifting over 20 years and have been deluded by the power building space, as you've mentioned. Studied 3DMJ, Helms, Schoenfeld, but you've aligned my thinking more than anything. It's incredible. That means a ton. Thank you very much. I clearly think about this stuff a lot, and I try and find that happy medium between what uh what is evidence based and what is bro science. And I don't fall for consensus, at least not anymore. Like I used to in the whole power building thing when that's what everybody was into, and then I realized that was just a fad. And if I just kept following what the fitness industry told me to do, there would never be a consistent training philosophy that gets me to where I want to be. I'd just be kind of like following the waves of the fitness industry. And it's that will never end. It will always be a thing because fads and how humans work will that will never die out. So you just have to watch out for that kind of stuff and just be critical thinking, I guess, as simple or corny as that might sound. Hey, Mr. Basement, I have been trying out power raises and having issues with stability. Any tips? So, power raises, I assume those are the ones where you're lying on your side on a flat bench and you're doing a rear delt raise like this. So, what I would do, I actually kick out my bottom leg. So, if you're lying down on your bench, bend your hips just a little bit, kick your bottom leg out as much as you can, and use your foot as stability. Smith machine attachment to power rack versus Smith machine. What should I get when I make my home gym? I would, assuming the Smith machine that attaches to a power rack is quality and it works, I would go with that. It's probably a little bit better on the budget, especially if you're looking at new stuff. You could probably find a used Smith machine for cheaper though. Yo, what's up, Carboneless? Have you been doing any have you ever done any non-typical training? Stone lifting, sandbag training, grip strength stuff? Yeah, well, I used to do strength and conditioning for hockey when I was in high school. So my background, it was a little bit more conditioning than strength, but yeah, I have done some unconventional stuff you could say that's not directly related to bodybuilding, and I really hated it because it was super, super hard. It's like hard in a different way than bodybuilding, but it has its benefits, I'd say. Made me a really, really good, um, really, really average like high school hockey player. No, no, I'm kidding. That's more of a probably just a time thing on my part. I'd probably have to. I would probably have had to stick with hockey a bit longer if I want to get a lot better. But I did see an improvement in my game for sure when doing strength and conditioning type stuff. Are you training outside this summer like the year before? I haven't been because it's been absurdly humid and it's been super rainy. So that's kind of limited me from training outside. But I can see myself doing it in like August and especially September when it cools off a little again. It's going to be so nice. Wish I had a home gym like you. I'm jealous, bro. Yeah. So, I mean, it depends where you live, but Facebook Marketplace is really the way to go, in my opinion. Love the way you approach bodybuilding in general. Very nuanced and insightful. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. What's up, man? I'm starting your push pull legs push pull program today. What's your usual diet like? That's awesome. My usual diet is I'll keep this one kind of quick because it can get very extensive, but my diet's very very straightforward. It's basically just morning is breakfast will be Greek yogurt with some granola, decent amount of protein in that. Very straightforward, very quick. I can just get up, have that, not super filling, and then I can go lift. Then I'll do my work, take a lunch break. For lunch, I'll always have a smoothie. It'll be frozen fruit. It's usually peaches, mangoes, strawberries, and grapes for the frozen stuff. I'll throw in a banana. I'll throw in flaxseed meal. I'll do soy milk, protein powder, creatine, spinach, blend all that up. And then usually I'll have something with that, depending on how hungry I am. It could be something as simple as like a handful or two of goldfish just for like a little bit of salt in there. Or it could be like a protein bar or a bagel or something like that. But it always revolves around the smoothie. That's kind of my main meal. It's just kind of low in calories, obviously. And then dinner varies based on the day. So it could be something like me and Miss Basement might make fajitas, or we might do like chicken and potatoes or kebabs on the grill or something. It's pretty random. What's a decent Smith JM press standard? Been stuck at 65 times 10 or so for months now. Seems a bit low. Well, so it depends on a couple things if we're looking at numbers. So it depends on the counterweights in the Smith. How heavy is your bar? And then are you talking kilos or pounds? So what I would say is it's tough to have an actual standard on that lift since everybody's technique and leverages will vary their strength on the lift quite a bit. But what I would say is if you're on a Smith, if you're able to do a plate and a half per side with counterweights in your Smith, I probably shouldn't even say that because I'm the only one that doesn't have counterweights in their Smith. That's a pretty fine standard to be at for like your arms will be decently big. I'm not going to promise any measurement because that's absurd, but uh, it's yeah, you have to have big triceps in order to put up a plate and a half for reps. How do you affect volume slash deloads when in an aggressive cut? I don't change anything unless I need to. So I'm very reactionary with it. Unless I have a tangible reason to do it, then I won't touch anything. Thoughts on Mike Israel's nighttime routine? I don't know what it is. How do you like to press for chest, retraction, depression, etc.? There's many opinions about them in terms of pec activation and shoulder health. So, yeah, what I would say is when it comes to pressing like a power lifter, I found it's not quite ideal for hypertrophy. It's not as terrible as some people will make it out to be, but I have seen better growth just from like switching to a Larson style press. It just gets you a little bit more range of motion, and it allows your you're not forcing retraction in an arch as much basically. So the cues that I like to focus on for chest pressing, one is just control. I find that helps a lot, especially as you get stronger. So focus on control, gently tap your chest, press with force, but not explosively back up. I'd also say focus on depressing your shoulder girdle. One of the main cues that I like to focus on here for something tangible that you can actually focus on mid set, drive your armpits down. This will make sure your shoulders don't shrug up and your pecs kind of rise above your rib cage. Same way for your lat training. You don't want your shoulders up here when you're trying to train lats because then they're not going to be able to leverage the rib cage properly. So pack everything down. Driving the armpits down is the main cue to focus on. And from there, just control, as simple as that. I could go into way more detail, but can't. I don't want to do that on every question on the live stream. Have you ever dirty boyed? Does that mean dirty bulked? Kinda, but not quite. Not like anything extreme. I've never been over like 22 or 23% body fat. I want to thank you for the amazing advice you gave. I started to slowly bulk and not afraid to eat. I feel really good and I'm not hungry all the time. Gained 6 kilos since February. Love your channel. Thanks a ton. I really appreciate that. Barbell RDLs make my entire back except for my lats sore. What do you think about having a posterior leg day with the lats included that doubles as a pull day? I am a fan of that style of training, actually. It kind of depends on your strength levels, what movements you're doing, and yeah, I mean that's basically it. So usually I'll put traps with my lower days if I'm doing an upper lower split, or if I'm doing a push pull. Sometimes I will actually do like do like posterior chains. So I'll do some deadlifts, whether it's a stiff leg or an RDL, and then I'll do some rows and some trap work and stuff, and then continue on with more leg stuff. Have you seen the most recent Jeff Nippert video? He seems to be providing cover for the new fake natties on the block. I haven't seen the full video, so unfortunately, I can't give my full thoughts on it. But it's tough to say who's a fake natty and who's not. One thing I will say is the your opinion of who's natural and who isn't, or at least what's achievable naturally and what isn't, will change as it goes back and forth as you progress as a lifter. Like when I first started lifting and I got those noob gains, I was like, oh, like all these influencers that I'm following are natural because if I can grow at this rate by this time, I'll be that guy's size. And you kind of realize after a couple of years, like, all right, yeah, maybe not natural. And then you kind of hit that intermediate plateau. You start to get very black pilled, as most people would say. You get kind of you become a bit of a doomer, a little bit cynical, and you start to think everybody's a fake natty. So like not to bring up revival fitness again, but like I think he's just a very clear example of somebody that is of that mindset. I haven't followed his channel in a very, very long time. It's been probably 1 or 2 years. So I'm not entirely sure his opinions now. So I don't want to put words in his mouth. But I do remember back in the day, that was kind of his whole thing. Everybody's a fake natty. And I can't get behind that either. But what happens is at a certain point, once you learn how to break through that intermediate plateau, you can get to become a little bit more advanced. I wouldn't say I'm advanced yet, but I'm a later stage intermediate lifter. And there's a lot of people that I used to think in the intermediate phase, at least for myself, were fake natties. And I'm starting to kind of come around to like, okay, well, I've seen myself look like this at this strength level in this lighting with a pump. And this person resembles that pretty closely. They might be a little bit bigger, but they're just a little bit more advanced. It's not anything like within straight outside of striking distance that I for myself basically. So if I look at a situation like that and then take into account that people obviously are going to have better genetics than me, then yeah, that's definitely definitely possible that some people you might not believe are fake natties, or some people that you think are fake natties are actually natural. If anything, I would always opt to be slightly more optimistic when it comes to that stuff. Hello, man. Please don't report my Instagram. No, I won't. I promise, Walter. I will not report your Instagram. You're here. I was on the verge of pressing block, and then you showed up. Yeah, I think it's the worst video he's ever made. Wow. Okay, I'll have to check it out then. To be fair, the kid in Jeff Nippert's video is as big as Larry Wheels with 3 years of lifting. Yeah, that I mean, if that's true, that's obviously a red flag. Do you have a cardio routine? A basic one. Yeah, I play hockey once a week and I run once a week. I've been slacking on the running though since hockey started. How do you program for someone who can only train twice a week? Full body, simple as that. From Tommy L. Five iron, 7 iron, or driver on a par four, 320 yards. I'd probably go 5 iron so I can drive the green and not go over Tommy. Except for yesterday. Let's not talk about that. What would you do if you lost all your gains today and had to get jacked again ASAP? That's something I'd have to make a full video on, but I would stick to the principles I talk about. Highly stable, strong opposing force, length and bias lifts with not necessarily length and bias, but at least a descending resistance profile. And I would just milk those out. I'd probably train higher frequency just if I'm getting my gains back. But I'd follow those principles and just give a genuine hard effort. GVS defended Jeff. I get why he did it, but I still disagree with him. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I 100% agree. Yeah, you can put a lot of stock into people's opinions about stuff like that, but never allow someone to choose your opinion for you. And it's totally fine to disagree with somebody that you have a lot of respect for, especially on stuff like that, where it's just it is an opinion. It's hard to be super objective with that kind of stuff. So yeah, keep your own opinions, but be open minded too. I love Jeff. He's one of the most credible naturals in the industry. So it would be a shame if he sold out, but I'm not giving up on him. Hopefully, it's a one time mess up. Wow. Okay. Yeah, you guys are pretty serious about this, huh? How do you train with very high intensity if you have a mentally demanding job? Normal to experience mental fatigue. Yeah, it's going to be tough. So your training's going to have to you're going to have to prioritize enjoyment. You're going to have to do stuff you like, and even if it's not optimal, because that's going to keep you going. The worst training when you're mentally exhausted sucks. It's honestly worse than training when you're physically exhausted. I mean, within reason, I'd say. Do you have a mobility routine? I do not. Aside from lifting, like I lift with good range of motion. For your push pull legs program, if Smith isn't available, are barbells okay as well? Yeah, barbells or selectorized machines are pretty good for replacing a Smith. It does depend on the lift, though. Like presses, that's fine. For squats, it's a little bit different, but it's still doable. Do you recommend new lifters try your upper lower split first or push pull legs? For new lifters, I would say upper lower. It will keep your focus a little bit better. If you're doing too many lifts as a beginner, everything's gonna be watered down for the most part. It's like you can still get big off that, but you do run the risk of just dispersing your effort and focus across a bunch of different things and becoming kind of a jack of all trades and a master of none. And in bodybuilding, I'm not trying to say you want to be a power lifter, master the big three, but you want to master one lift for each muscle group, generally speaking. If you were to hire a coach, who do you think would offer you personally the most valuable perspective? I don't know. Um, I would I would be very open minded to going with someone that thinks differently than me. So I would consider going with like even like a competitive bodybuilding coach. So someone like Alberto Nunez, like that's totally different training philosophy and totally different approach than myself. But I think learning from somebody that thinks differently than you is quite valuable. So that's who I would. Someone like him is what I'm trying to say. He's the first person that came to mind. But if I was genuinely going to hire a coach, I would obviously do a lot more research on it. Why am I small, weak little baby? Because you're not doing preacher curls. Come on. Oh, thanks for the super chat. I just turned those on right before this one. Some people kept mentioning that I should turn them on, and I did. And yeah, so it's working. That's good to know. Performance goals and a cut. Growth possible. Determining volume changes. Rest days needed. Ideal split 6 days per week. Expensive gym worth it. So much appreciated for the super chat. It's genuinely very cool to see, and I do appreciate it. I have a hard time showing appreciation for things. So if I'm trying to get my point across, saying that I appreciate it, just that I genuinely mean it. Performance goals and a cut. So I would honestly kind of focus on the arm to waist ratio in terms of measurements. For performance, maintenance is actually just fine. It's going to be very nuanced based on how deep you're going to cut, your rate of weight loss, the amount of body fat that you hold in certain areas that can affect the leverages of a lift that you're doing. So, for example, if you hold a little bit more body fat in your torso area, like in your stomach, hips area, that's going to affect your hinges and your squat patterns quite a bit. What I would say here is growth is possible in a cut, especially if you're more of a beginner or early intermediate. When it comes to volume changes, be reactionary with it. Don't go into a cut changing volume unless you've done multiple cuts before and you know exactly what works for you. I would say keep everything the best you can, keep it static. And then if you have a tangible reason to decrease your volume, like fatigue or your strength is dropping off quicker than it normally would on a cut, then you can make changes to your volume. Rest days are going to be beneficial in a cut, in my experience. Ideal splits, just I'd keep doing what you're doing. 6 days per week is fine, but it can be exhausting, especially if you're training with very high intensity. And is an expensive gym worth it? It depends on if it's a better gym or just more expensive because it's newer stuff or it's cleaner or in a better area or whatever. So I would say generally speaking, if the equipment's better, it's worth it in my opinion. We appreciate you, Mr. Basement. I appreciate you guys. Jeff is like the Mr. Beast of fitness content. Yeah, I think he's becoming that. Thoughts on doing chest and biceps and back and triceps instead of push and pull? Yeah, yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. I talked about that all the time in the Road to 18 Your Charm series last year. How do you go about preventing strength loss in a cut? So you're going to lose strength in a cut. I mean, like a mini cut, you may not. You probably still will on lifts that are impacted most by fat loss. So like hinges are a great example of that, and some squats. But I wouldn't worry about. I wouldn't focus on not losing strength. I would just worry about trying to be as strong as you can within your own technique confines. Don't overthink this one. Cable flies and machine flies. I have a slot in my routine. I think I prefer machine, but I can superset more easily on cables. I do prefer machine flies just for the added stability. So if you are yeah, I do prefer machine flies. Opinion on Trell? I actually don't know what Trell is. I'm getting old, guys. Could doing push legs pull work better than the traditional push pull legs since legs would work as a buffer for the upper body? I don't think you would really need a buffer for the upper body. But it could. It could. I don't think it wouldn't hurt you. Another super chat, much appreciated. 9bit9, love it. I'm doing your full body maxing program and love it. I feel like my traps could use work through. Oh, I can't read. I feel like my traps could use work though when you add some isolation power shrugs twice a week. So yeah, power shrugs are an excellent lift for the upper traps. What I would say is if you want to grow the traps as much as possible, things like power shrugs, tried and true. I love them. When it comes to your rows, this is going to be a game changer for growing the upper, the mid, and even kind of the lower traps. When you're doing your rows, I would actually do a slight backwards lean. So make sure you're not pulling down or horizontal. You want to pulse ever so slightly up and focus on squeezing your shoulders and your clavicles up towards the lower portion of the back of your neck. And that's an absolute game changer for your rows. And this is like how you get more trap growth without necessarily adding a whole ton of volume and stuff to your program. Not that you can't do that. I actually still would. But focus on when you're doing your rows, focus on that cue. Drive like the shoulders and the clavicles even slightly up and back towards the lower part of the back of your neck. I find that is a game changer for my traps, and my traps are bigger now than they were just a few months ago, just by focusing on that cue, keeping everything else the same as far as volume, frequency, intensity, etc. When you also do your rows, think about pulling with your traps. A lot of people will just focus on pulling with their arms and they'll just kind of like pivot on their shoulders, allow protraction to happen, and then pull with your traps. I find Kelso shrugs to be super awkward. Some people like them, but I'm not someone that's a fan of them, at least right now. Think about pulling with your arms just as much as you need to be able to comfortably retract your scaps, elevate, and kind of pull back your clavicles too. And I find that works really, really well. Should you count press/pull as triceps bicep volume, like one set, half a set, or maybe not at all? I wouldn't count it at all. If If it does happen to give you a little bit of bicep and tricep growth, then what you can do is just get away with counting less, or not counting, but doing less volume for your biceps and triceps. But I wouldn't count it as bicep and tricep work. Thoughts on Knuckles' volume article? I'm gonna have to check that out too. I've been a little behind on following the up to date stuff in the fitness industry. I've kind of been doing my own thing. Does the brachialis really push the biceps peak up? I hear that every now and then. I don't know how true that is. I don't know how true that is either. But if you have more mass in your elbow flexor area, everything will pop a bit more. So there's probably some truth to it. Hope you're well, man. I have a marathon in 7 weeks. Any advice on preserving strength? I want to switch back to strength training right after. Wow. Yeah. So that's going to take up most of your training. I would decrease your volume a little bit, but maybe increase your frequency to make up for that, and that should probably help you out a little bit. So I'd consider just full body 3 times a week. If you had to build your home gym again, what equipment would you prioritize getting first? So after the preacher curl, I'd probably get a no, I wouldn't get a preacher curl first, but I'd probably get a Smith machine first, and then a preacher curl second. From there, I'd probably get a T-bar row machine, or at least the one that I have here, this Maxicam row, which is a descending resistance profile because it works on a lever. And then from there, I'd probably get a barbell, and then either a cable tower or a lat pull down. And that's pretty much all I would need for the basics. That for me, that's like my minimalist gym. If I want fancier stuff, which I obviously am going to get at some point down the road, I'd start getting like prime machines and that kind of stuff. I've been so tempted to get this Gronk Fitness chest press. It's it's kind of like a like knockoff. It's still high quality, but it's like their version of I'm not going to remember the name of it. It's the one that Jordan Peters uses. The length and bias seated plate loaded chest press, which is just like this is so much better than the hammer strength version since it's a descending profile. Landon's a great coach, guys. Also affordable, which is amazing. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I try my best, and I live by the motto of just trying to be the resource I wish I had when I was earlier in my training career. Thoughts on hammer curl for big arms? I'm a fan. I love hammer curls, and the only reason I don't do them that often is because I don't have a dumbbell rack, and I can't justify adjusting all my adjustable dumbbells to do them. But if I had a dumbbell rack, I'd do them a lot more often. I probably wouldn't even worry about tracking them or even putting them in a program, but I would be doing them. I've been lifting for 1 year and 8 months, but my bench is only 175. Is that bad? I have 6'8" wingspan. I'd say it's 175 for a 1 rep max. That's probably you can achieve more than that, but it's impossible to diagnose what would be holding you back. So I would say, yeah, in a year and 8 months, I would say if everybody trained to their fullest potential and did everything right, I think most people could get above 200. but 175 it's not terrible. Like it's tough to get into those numbers and everything because the fitness industry will skew your standards a lot because you're never actually looking at beginners or early intermediates. Everybody's like either on steroids or like advanced or genetic freak. So yeah, you can do more than that, I would bet. But it's not nothing. Any advice on fixing bench press and just overall form imbalances? A lot of internal cueing can help. So just focusing on pulling or pushing more with one side can help if you feel like it's lagging behind a little bit. A lot of the time, it can be a setup issue too. So going for stuff that's more stable or doing unilateral work can help too. Can help. Nothing's guaranteed though when it comes to imbalances. Why don't you do seated Bayesian curls or flat bench cable preacher curls? On paper, those have resistance throughout all the ROM. I don't necessarily want resistance through the whole ROM. I like that the tension cuts off at the end for preacher curls because that way it matches the fatigue. I can't think of a word. It matches how each position of the muscle fatigues throughout the set. The short position will always fatigue first. So basically, having more tension at the bottom and less at the top will allow you to push harder, in theory, and in practice too, based on how my arms grew. Power blocks are goaded for changing weight quickly. I agree. I see the 45 or 50 pound adjustable power blocks for sale in marketplace all the time, and I might get them at some point, but I also think that at some point I'll just get a full dumbbell rack. You could achieve same with classic vaulted lifts for arm size. I don't think so. You might have been the person that commented that it was just an intensity increase. My intensity wasn't any higher as far as the effort I put forth when I was doing barbell curls and incline curls, but I think the stability was holding me back because I was pretty strong on those lifts. And then when I went to preacher curls, I didn't actually train harder from an effort perspective. It's the stability that allows that effort to be directed into a higher force output. So I do think the preacher curls are the reason why I got there. Carboneless. Oh, much appreciated, Nick. Love it. Thank you a ton. You've been hands down just an excellent person to work with for so long at this point. I go to an old school bodybuilding gym full of Nautilus machines from the 80s and 90s. It's sick. Their net curl machine is dank. Oh, dude, just going there for the vibes alone will get you so jacked. That lever T-bar row you got looks so good, TBH. It's an incredible machine. It's better than a T-bar row. I got so lucky with it. Funny enough, like I've never seen this machine before, but it's Maxicam, it's an older commercial gym brand, and I got it for 300 used on Facebook. I saw one pop up the other day. I had to show Miss Basement. I was like, Miss Basement, check out this Facebook Marketplace I found. It's a row machine, Maxicam. It's $2,000. Should I get it? And she was like, no, that's insane. I was like, well, I got that same one 8-10 months ago or whatever for $300. And then she felt a lot better. For a bigger back, would you recommend more lat work or more upper back / trap work? Both. Yeah, if you want a big back, it's a lot of muscle groups. If you want a massive back, a lengthened biased row with chest support, so a T-bar row, a stiff leg deadlift for the erectors, and then whatever you prefer for lats, diagonal or vertical pulling, like that is the foundation of what will get you a massive back. Hack squat machine better than Smith hack. Thoughts on narrow mag grip for lat pull down? Yes, 100%. It's better than a Smith hack. A Smith hacks are fine, but that's a get more to less weight movement, as Alex Leonidas would say. There's no stability behind your hips, so it's a fine lift, but get more to less weight. I'm curling my preacher to this right now. That's a goat super chat. What's your chest measurement? I can't even remember off the top of my head. I haven't measured it in a bit. Oh, and you asked about narrow grip mag pull downs. Yes, I'm a huge fan of those. Lean bulk or recomp or what? 6 foot, 200 pounds, 20 to 22% body fat. I would go for a recomp. What do you think about the new gen science based lifters? If we're talking about the content creators, I think it's super dogmatic, like super dogmatic, but some of their information's good, as with anybody for the most part. The actual lifters, though, I feel bad for them because they're. I'd have to articulate my thoughts through notes or just writing them down first, then I can make a video on it. But I do feel very bad for them. They're not training to get the best results possible. They're training to show off how extreme they can go. Atlas Power Shrugged had a very good Instagram post on it. Do you think that that not training legs can limit upper body growth? No. Although it depends if we're talking about hinges or not, since it's both. If you're not doing hinges, you're 100% limiting your spinal erector growth, definitely. So if you kind of hinges an upper body lift, then you'd be fine. But yeah, if you're just like not doing a squat pattern, that's not going to hold you back at all from your upper body growth. That's another kind of like weird 2010s bro sciencey thing that was out there. Like like me and my buddy used to joke about it. He used to do squats, so it would like grow his pecs. It's so strange because people would say that if you're doing a low bar squat, it like pulls your pecs apart, and under that high tension you'd grow. And it's like these are like reputable people saying these things. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but there were like serious discussions on stuff like that. It was a weird place. But once you realize that back then those discussions were very normal, you can kind of get the perspective of right now with all these science-based guys. It's just the same extreme, but it feels normal because it's kind of consensus at this, not for everybody, but there's a very strong community behind it. And as soon as that fad dies out, because it's a fad, it will die out, you'll look back and be like, what were we thinking? If you could pick one fitness influencer to blow up, are we talking like the Jaws ending, to the levels of Jeff Nippert or Mike Zertel, who would it be? What does that even mean? like to physically blow them up, or like to like give them more of a following, or to like get rid of their channel? I don't know. You're gonna have to go a little more in depth on that. Why, hello, Mr. Basement, and the chat. Hello from Croatia. What's up, Luca? Can a shoulder press really hit the side delts well? Absolutely. Yeah, you just want flared elbows, especially flared elbows, overhand grip, behind the neck press is excellent, or selectorized or plate loaded overhead press machine will pretty much do the same thing since the bar isn't getting in the way of your head. After reaching a new PR and a few movements like squat, bench, deadlift, etc., how long should one keep progressing before cutting to establish strength and keep strength loss to a minimum? That's more based on body fat percentage than strength levels or progression levels. I would just go mostly based on preference, but generally speaking, try to not go over like 22% body fat. Are newbie gains wasted if the person's starting point is obese, since he or she will spend a really long time in a deficit? No. No, they might take longer, but yeah, you don't like miss out on newbie gains. Do you see value in supersetting between triceps and biceps for straight sets? No. Supersets will be at best equal stimulus and saving you a little bit of time. At worst, they are going to distract you, have you trained in a more fatigued state, and hurt your gains a little bit. So I'm not inherently against supersets, but I wouldn't program them unless it was specifically requested or somebody was short on time. Why do meta-analysis slash regressions show non-significant differences in hypertrophy with 0 to 2 RIR? What do you think is going on? I'd have to look more into it. But I would say off the top of my head, it depends on the lift you're looking at. Like some lifts, I think you can get excellent growth with training at 2 reps in reserve. I would just say most people that think they're 2 reps in reserve are more like 4 or 5 in the tank. Like if you go to 2 RIR on leg press, that is it's hard to explain how difficult that actually is. Most people would think 0 RAR is just when they would give up on the set, but in all reality, if you had a gun to your head, most people could do between 4 and 10 more reps on leg press from when they would say they're at 0 RAR. So a genuine 2 RIR on leg press is very, very difficult. Um, for other lifts, I'm not huge on it, so something's fishy. I'd have to look into it though, but I do not think you're going to get maximal gains in a lot of lifts training with 2 reps in the tank. What do I do about forward lean on squat? So it depends what type of squat you're doing and why it's in your program. If it's a low bar squat and you're trying to get glute growth, that's totally fine. If it's a high bar squat and the program is or the lift is in your program in order to target the quads, I would consider doing 2 things. The first one, if you wanna keep it, non-back supported, a high bar Smith machine squat is much easier to stay upright on, and reverse safety squat bar squat will do the same thing. Wedges can also work just fine, or squat shoes, or you're just going too heavy and you can go a little bit lighter. How big of a bench will fix my attraction to men? I don't know, waiter. Are you are you trying to use a big bench to become not gay, or are you trying to get a big bench so you become gay? Any tips for standardizing form on Smith JM press? Yeah, it mostly just comes down to where the bar path goes. So what I like to do is basically just figure out your grip width, which you can base on the knurling on the bar, or you can just base it on kind of visuals and making sure that you are just gripping the same distance each time. I'll usually just go kind of based on feel, and I just want to make sure like my grip is basically just inside shoulder width. And other than that, there's not going to be a massive difference in strength levels if you're a finger width and a route on either side. From there, you're just going to make sure the bar path is headed to the same place each time. I just aim for the front of the chin right here, and you can adjust as needed. So you can kind of just do warm up sets, figure out where you need to be on the bench in order to make that happen. What I also do is like I figured out that my eyes have to line up exactly with it's with a certain part. It's like with the rack on the Smith machine. If I look over, my eyes are directly in line with that, I know I'm in the right spot. So see if you can find a spot that standardizes you visually. Blow up equals get famous. Okay, that makes more sense now. I probably should have thought of that in the first place. If I had to pick one influencer, hmm, I'd have to think about it, but I would say personally, I'd probably pick Alex Leonidas just because he taught me so much when I was younger. Like he's just such a great channel. He's always thought independently, and I think that's just so massive and helps so many people more than somebody that's just like you look at the fitness industry now, and I'm not going to name any names, but it's like you go on Instagram, or I'm not on TikTok, but if you were to go on TikTok, every creator on there, anybody that's science based at all, is basically just Paul Carter. They're all just mini Paul Carters running around. Like that's all it is. And then they try and become a little bit more extreme than each other. I'm like, what's going on here? Like nobody actually thinks for themselves. And it's like, of course, you can find people that kind of think the same way as you, or like have a similar training outlook. Like you look at the Noble Natty community, for example. Like the approach you'll find between like myself or Alex or GVS, like we all have some overlap in our training philosophies, but we all approach things differently, and our programs will always look different. Um, but we still kind of like are a little bit of like a community or group. And it's like if you know my channel, you know theirs. If you know theirs, you might know mine, even though mine's a little smaller. Um, yeah, so Yeah, I'd probably pick Alex just because as a lifter, before I was a content creator, helps me a ton. And once I became a content creator, he took his channel with 300,000 followers or whatever it was at the time and gave my channel that had like 1,000 and change subscribers and gave me an interview on his channel. And we talked for a couple hours. I'm like, who else does that? That's very, very thoughtful and kind of him. He had absolutely nothing to gain from that. And it's just extremely selfless. And I have a ton of respect for him for doing that. Landon truly living that basement internet free life. Yeah, kinda. I've been getting into fishing lately, and I've been off my phone a lot. Low bar squats for chest growth and deadlifts for biceps. Yeah. You could say that unironically in 2018 and no one would second guess it. Agreed on the new gen science take. A lot of the exercises they promote are actually less stable than their classic counterparts. I 100% agree. They have no progression potential. Let's see. Arms looking good from the side, but small from the front. Would it be better to prioritize hammer curls and brachialis work over supinated work? Yeah. I've kind of struggled with that too. Even when I got 18-inch arms, like they were never that thick from the front, and that was definitely something I struggled with when I first got into lifting. That was kind of the first thing I wanted to fix. But yeah, I would have to do hammer curls more consistently, and that's what I'd recommend to you as well. You mentioned those back workout staples. Do you need multiple rowing exercises, or is T-bar row by itself just fine? So technically, I do think T-bar row itself would be just fine. I do find that if you repeat the same movement twice a week, physically and gains wise, you'll be fine. But I find that in practice, what happens is it sounds weird, but the more often you do a movement, the quicker your technique degrades because each time you train it is kind of an opportunity for you to try and make the movement easier. So I find that just having a little bit of variety, even if it's just by the angle of your grip or the width of your grip, I find that helps quite a bit. So a seated cable row is usually what I try and pair it with. Maybe a pen lay, but it depends on the hinges in your program. It's insane how live you're getting. Nobody can even believe it at this point. Told my boss to kick rocks, but he couldn't respond because he's blocked and reported. I know who you are. Let's go. Yeah, he wasn't happy with me, but couldn't tell me anything because he's blocked and reported. Thoughts on sandbags? Really want to see you collab with the Stone Circle solely for the reason that you both train very differently, and I feel like these kind of unlikely collabs lead to a lot of learning. I really, really like his channel. He is a super, super thoughtful person when it comes to just being open minded and taking his own training approach. And I find that as different as our approaches to training are in terms of the physical, psychologically, we're quite similar. As yeah, we train for totally different things, but um, yeah, the approach and the mindset we have is surprisingly similar, probably more similar than anybody else that I've watched on YouTube. Any videos that never got finished, like recorded but never edited? Yeah, there's been a handful. There is actually the video I posted a while back of getting a deep stretch is the most overrated thing in the fitness industry or whatever. That was recorded like 6 to 10 months prior to posting it. I probably have a couple more, but I've deleted them at this point. I usually post everything. But one of the weirdest things I'll say about having the YouTube channel is like no matter how good my videos are from like m- what on this topic, what is the best potential video I could make? If I meet that potential within myself, I always have doubt until the video is posted. Like I'm always like, "Oh, I should delete it. I should delete it. I should not be posting this. This is not good enough. I didn't talk about this thing or this thing. I missed this." And I get like this weird sense of being a perfectionist, and I'm really not a perfectionist, which is kind of odd. Uh, but it happens every single video. I think the only video that I felt like truly confident in posting was my second video about progressive overload or the SBD or whatever, which was a great video. And I'm still proud of that one. But yeah, I was probably super dogmatic and very raw in my training philosophy. Anyone from Phoenix area? Oh, the Coyotes are gone, man. But yeah, there might be some more people in here. There's 159, so yeah, maybe one from each state, 100 other people from across the world. Hi from Ireland, here to shill for the neck training and snoop in for arm training tips. Love it. 11 to 15-inch arms in roughly a year of lifting. Do I have decent genetics average? It's impossible to say, but that's definitely productive, assuming most of it's muscle. Hot take, the vast majority of guys, me included, just want a good body. In my opinion, this means focusing on shoulders, in parentheses, vertical pressing, and back and core slash posterior chain. Uh yeah, I mean, that will take you really far. Like, yeah, if your back and your delts are jacked, then you'll look great. I think there's just a difference between people that want to look aesthetic and then people that want to look jacked. I kind of like both. I'm kind of just like, it's like, how are you going to pack on a whole ton of mass naturally and not look aesthetic? What's your chest, arm, shoulder measurement on pump? Arms are, I haven't measured them in a few months actually, but they're, last time I checked, and they're about the same now. My body weight hasn't changed. My lifts haven't either. 17 and a half unpumped. The biggest they were unpumped was 18. The biggest they were with a pump, what do you think? It was probably like 18 and a quarter, maybe 18 and a half with a pump. I've never noticed that a pump actually makes that big of a difference on my arm measurements, though. Alex flip flops a lot. I remember him being anti straps, and suddenly he agrees with everyone saying back is always stronger than forearms months later. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's good to change your opinions on some stuff, especially stuff like straps. Like I get the old school mentality of like, oh, it's gonna lead to weaker forearms, or you're just not strong enough on forearms. Like little things like that, I don't mind people changing their opinion on, because it's not flip-flopping, it's just improving your opinion in most cases if it's something objective like that. The issue I have is when people make drastic changes to their training philosophies just to start a fad or follow a fad, and he does not do that. Like there's stuff we all learn from new fads. I can't deny that. But if you switch everything just to like meet whatever's trendy at the moment, that's just stupid in my opinion. And I have no respect for it. Still watch Alex's videos, though I just take everything with a grain of salt. I like his videos. Like he's in my top 5, top 10. Like, or what if I had a list of people that were like trustworthy, if you're a new lifter and you don't know anything, look through these channels, look through their old videos, their new videos, and you'll get jacked, he would be on that list. Any tips for growing a natural bodybuilding channel or Instagram? Working on mine now. Someone asked this last time. I the only reason, I'm not going to say the only reason, because we wouldn't know. We don't have a parallel universe to compare it to, but I am not good at social media. I am just literally using this as a vessel to talk about bodybuilding. And that's all it is. The reason why I believe the bigger part of the reason why I have a following is going to be two things. One, the right people found my channel at the right time. Nobody else was really talking about what I was talking about. So I think I was at least unique in that sense. But uh, people in this community are very thoughtful, very kind, and very selfless. So people like Steve Shaw, people like Stan Strength was one of the first people to find my channel. Even though his channel wasn't huge, he was still got some people to watch my videos. Alex Leonidas, huge. Natural Hypertrophy, Jeffrey Verdi Schofield, they all were talking about my channel and going back and forth and having some debates and stuff. Like that's what got my name out there. But as far as actually growing a channel, if you weren't to bake on that, I would just say have something unique to say. Forget about fads and just tunnel vision on your own experience, not just in yourself, but what you're observing other people doing. Have original thoughts, and it's so hard because it's not tangible advice you can take, but just think and think and think and think and think. And Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't have any. I wish I had more actionable advice for you, but I really don't. Do you eat cereal? I don't. I used to, but I'd be like 300 pounds if I ate cereal. Opinion on the extra arm day and an upper lower split after the last lower day. It's okay, but I wouldn't say it's entirely necessary. When it comes to growing your arms, you an upper lower split should give you the template to sufficiently grow your arms. If you need more after that and you've exhausted your options, it is okay. It's not going to kill you. But make sure your program is good before adding more stuff in. What do you think of isolated hand training, like that Roger C guy does, training the thenar and hypothenar muscles and others? I have no idea. You'd have to ask some arm wrestlers about that. Hey man, at what time do you usually work out? Like 9:30 a.m. typically. Sometimes a little earlier, sometimes a little later. But I usually like to get up, get my lift in, and then do all my client communication. And then if I have a video to make, I'll work on it after that. But that's typically what time. If I had absolutely nothing to do and I could do whatever I want whenever I wanted, and I had perfect energy levels, I prefer to lift at night. Mr. Basement, sorry for saying you reported another YouTuber. There was no proof of this, and some other guy made it up in attempts to be a puppet master. That was wrong of me. I think you apologized about this last time. It's all good, dude. I mean, stuff like that happens. Yeah, I would just say that I don't even know what to say, honestly. Yeah, it's all good. I forgive you. Boo, miss the Yotes. Me too. I mean, the Utah Hockey Club, like, come on. The Utah Mammoth, I'm like, it's all right. At least they're not the Yeti, because I think that is the corniest name possible. Bulking at 15% body fat, worth it? If you're actually 15%, absolutely. Usually, like, what people talk about as 15% is more like 18 or 19 now. And you can still get away with a lean bulk for a little bit, but see how you go on maintenance too. T-bar row machine doesn't allow a full stretch. Is it all right to do that plus something like a rack pull for the stretch? You don't necessarily need a massive stretch on a T-bar row, and you don't have to lock your arms out either. You can maintain a slight arm bend and still get full shoulder forward motion like that, still full protraction and whatnot. Do you have any news? What's up with NHC rarely posts nowadays? I won't tell. Astronauts, they are real and have been to space. Is it real or was it faked? I appreciate the super chat, your brain. Much appreciated. Poland forever. In new sub, thanks for the videos. What do you tend to go for food wise before lifting? Nothing in particular. I mean, I have Greek yogurt just because that happens to be my breakfast of choice, and I lift in the morning. But other than that, when I started lifting in the morning, I used to work at a gym, and when I had to work early and late, I would lift in the morning before work. And as soon as I realized that my performance was exactly the same training fasted compared to getting multiple good meals at the right time and whatnot in, I stopped caring about it. From Collie, show us the cats. Yeah, I got Peter and Keith. I'll see if I can find pictures of them because they are not allowed in the basement. See what I got on here. Pretty good boys. Yeah, here's this is Peter right before coming down to do the live stream. This is literally at 1:53 today. He's just like where we keep the towels. He just jumped up there in the closet. Everyone says Orange Man bad, but how can you look at that and say Orange Man bad? And Keith, do we have a picture of Keith? Yeah, here he is. I'm chilling on the couch a few nights ago after hockey. He's a good boy too. He's a super interesting looking guy. I appreciate the super chat. It's very thoughtful of you. Also, try aluminum pulleys on your cable machines if you haven't. RipFit has cheap 6-packs, and it's a game changer on the eccentric. Yes, that is something that I haven't tried, but I've been very much looking forward to doing at some point. Yeah, I will 100% look into that. Mini cut or slow cut? If mini cut, how would you approach this? Mini cut, yeah. In the vast majority of cases, I go for mini cut, and I would typically go 3 to 6 weeks, aiming to lose up to 2 pounds a week or 1 kilo for people that use kilograms, and that's what I'd aim for. Just get in, get out, keep it efficient. Let's see. I have 9 cats. That's a ton. They're so fun though. I love chilling with them. Oh yeah, emailed you some months back to ask if you were willing to comment on a routine I made for someone in exchange for a fee, but I never heard back. So I sent a reminder and will you get back? Oh yeah, go for it. My guess is what happened was I was in a phase where I had a bunch of new clients signing up and I was just focused on that and yours probably got lost in there. I usually try and star any email that is asking for a service that I technically don't officially offer, but for stuff like that, usually what I'll do is plan it out for some time in the future. So if you want to send me an email, we could probably go back and forth and I'd be happy to do something like that for you. I'm busy now as far as my time goes when it comes to my current clients that I'm working with, but we could definitely figure something out for like August or September if that works for you. Apologize about the delay. For full body maxing, you recommend progressing when the first set hits the top end of the rep range, or do both sets need to? Just the first. Is overtraining real? It is. It's just very rare. Trying to move away from lat dominant back workouts because that's my nature, but now I'm finding my back days very lackluster. It's probably more of a technique thing for the lifts that are in there. And obviously, it's hard to answer that in a live stream. I'd have to really look at your training and your technique and exercise selection. Do you plan on experimenting with sandbags ever? Yes, probably at some point. If I want to get into more enjoyable conditioning stuff, I could 100% see myself doing that. Thoughts on full body every other day? Uh, the principles that it follows are the same principles that got me big as a beginner. I will say that. So I am a fan of it. If you look at my initial beginner program that I put out on the channel over 3 years ago, it is like a push, pull, push, pull, push, pull split. That is basically just full body cut in half and put into 6 days a week instead of 3. And in that video, I talk about how the frequency is what I believe got me jacked as a beginner and what allowed me to progress so quickly. Insanely jacked cats. I agree. Actually, when Keith went to the vet for the first time a couple of years ago, she said he had big triceps. I'm dead serious. So proud of him. All your videos on what to do as an advanced lifter, in your opinion, would those same principles take a beginner through their intermediate phase and into advanced with enough time? Yeah, a lot of that stuff would. The only difference is you don't necessarily need to be that surgical and precise when you're a beginner because you do have a little bit more room for error. The reason why a lot of that stuff ultimately wouldn't work for a beginner is more so indirect. If you're just overthinking everything and you don't have that foundation of experience in the gym to truly understand things and make the right decisions, most people will end up overthinking their way out of gains. So that's why it's best to keep things simple as a beginner a lot of the time. 200 from Arsh. I have no clue what type of currency that is, but either way, I appreciate that. It's very thoughtful of you. Who is your favorite rapper? It's tough to say exactly who it would be. I'd have to rack my brain a little bit. I think if I had to pick the one that I probably like enjoy the most, it would either be between Denzel Curry or Big Crit. I just think their material is good. Denzel Curry is hilarious. Um, it would have to be one of those two, and then obviously you have like Kendrick, who's great. And then another super chat from KN, much appreciated. NHL free agency thoughts thus far. Oh, this has been the most boring free agency year. Everybody just resigns. So why I don't know why Besser stayed in Vancouver. He could have got another 2 million on the open market. I'm glad he didn't make it to open market, so the Bruins didn't risk signing him in the middle of a rebuild because they would. They like him a lot, even though they passed on him in 2015. But we won't keep talking about that. I think the most insane thing to come from free agency is Florida keeping Ekblad and Marchand and Bennett. Like those guys could have gotten absolutely paid in the open market, but they just love being in Florida, and I have a lot of respect for that, even though I hate Florida. Other than that, it's been super underwhelming. I don't know why the Bruins paid Jeannot 3.4 for 5 years. Like that's pretty insane to me. They talk a lot about culture and playing the right way, but it's like, do we not realize that culture comes from winning, not from like just kind of trying hard and not getting anywhere? But I'm fine with them rebuilding. Ballpark estimate of calories for your mini cuts, upper 1000s, 1800, 1900, maybe up to 2000, but that's about it. Are you a carbs guy or a fats guy? I tend to prefer carbs more, but I do feel, I notice I feel better when I have a lot of healthy fats. Can you get complete hamstring growth from only lying in seated curls without hinges? I would say no. No, I don't think so. Whose idea was it to get Cass, yours or Mrs.? More so her idea, but I grew up with a cat. I've always had a soft spot for him, so it was kind of just like a mutual agreement. Always wanted to have an orange cat named Peter, and then for we ended up getting a second cat, and I thought it would be funny. I've always thought it would be funny to give a pet like a human name, so that's why their names are Peter and Keith, not like Mince and Fluffy or something. So I just thought it'd be funny to kind of like piggyback on her and just name him Keith. Like who has a cat named Keith, right? Do you know Matt Wenning? He said dips are dangerous. I do know Matt Wenning. Not in person, but I've known of him for a very long time. Dips are not dangerous. I mean, like technically anything's dangerous, right? But if we're talking about within reason, dips aren't dangerous. Send you a reminder email. Appreciate it, your brain. Stole the visual format of your program that you revealed ages back. So here's your royalty check. P.S. Train your net, kids. Thanks a ton. That's very thoughtful of you. Thoughts and how many days in a week you would work out if you worked out every other day? I don't get what that means. Thoughts on how many days in a week you would work out if you worked out every other day? I mean, 3.5. I don't know. I have no idea what that means. Every time I wear my basement bodybuilding t-shirt available on Barbell Apparel, I happen to work out at the gym and not my home gym. Funny how that works out. I'm glad you're liking that shirt. The thing is, they crushed the design. Like I had that idea in my head, and their designers legit. He put my like terrible sample into a legit illustration, and they're restocked now. So check out Barbell Apparel. If you go to my collection under base and bodybuilding, obviously check them out. Those things are sick. Denzel is good. Yeah, he's awesome. I haven't listened to any of his new music, but Yeah, I loved Taboo back in like 2018. I was ripping that when I was just getting into power building. Like my last video when I was doing all that stuff, that's all I would listen to. It was like it was right before Taboo came out, and then it was Sumo, and then Perks came out, and there was one other song, I can't remember what it was, but those 2 or 3 songs came out, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty pumped for this album." That was, like, exactly what I needed for just hardcore lifting. What is your weapon of choice for rows that target the mid to upper back? T-bar rows 100%. Chest supported ideally, but you can get really good gains without the chest support. From Psychonaut, dude. Is this a second super chat? I appreciate it if it is. Very thoughtful of you. Early intermediate, upper body / late novice, lower ideal split. Could I do upper lower, upper lower, upper lower rest? I want to train as often as possible, ideally. Yeah, that would work just fine. So yeah, I think that would work totally fine. That's exactly what I would do if you want to train very often, or just push pull push pull push pull. But if you want to grow your legs more, then not quite as good. So that's exactly how I'd go about it. You don't look like the type that likes rap. It's more a generation thing. Like that's what was popular when I was growing up, so that's what we listened to. I do find that I get sick of it a lot, and in my opinion, there hasn't been good enough rap released in this decade. I'd say the last time I like genuinely enjoyed or was excited for a new release was the 2010s. But again, probably just a generation thing, turning into a boomer. Hey, Landon, all time subscriber here. Appreciate it. You're an OG. Would you say that volume goes up by much for each tier of advances going from novice to intermediate and so on? No. It actually, funny enough, it kind of goes up a little bit once you become an intermediate, and then as your technique gets better and you get stronger and stronger and just more proficient in each lift, you actually usually have to go lower in volume because you can get more out of every set, and then just doing a whole ton of volume when you're super strong takes its toll. What is your opinion on putting a rest day before and after legs and push pull legs? If you train super, 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 super hard, that works really well. A lot of I believe that's Jordan Peters split actually. So it's a badass split. Um, but I think more people would benefit from more frequency. Your wife lifts. So fiance as of now. We're not getting married for another year or so, but she goes to like some basic like lifting classes. She doesn't like lift in the basement though. She might down the road, but as of now, she's not. Do you like Earl sweatshirt? Little too experimental for me when he was coming out, but I never disliked him. I almost I I have like this weird aversion to the like super niche rap fans, but not in like a serious way. But I was like, yeah, guys, just like the normal stuff. Stop trying to be too much of a hipster. But no, I from what I've heard, he's fine. Like I like his features and stuff on some of the stuff I've heard, but I don't know too much about him. What hobbies do you have outside of the gym? So the most enjoyable thing I do is probably hockey. I have a lot of fun playing hockey, but right behind that, I would say I've been getting into fishing, and I got a like a little. It's a pond prowler, so it's like this little 10-foot mini pontoon boat that I can just rip around the lake, which is super fun. So I have a 40-pound thrust Minn Kota on that thing, and it takes me a nice hefty 3 miles an hour, so I can I can at least get moving a little bit and fish. But I did order a Suzuki 2.5 HP 4-stroke, which is a beauty, and it's coming in tomorrow, so I'm super pumped for that. That thing takes me should be 7 to 10 miles an hour. So that'll be super fun. So I'm into fishing, boating now. I love hockey. I like camping a lot. Moderately into hiking. I don't actively seek out hikes, but I do enjoy when I go. And I love playing Chell. And I'm not a gamer at all, but I like enjoy playing things like DayZ. And I love playing Chell. Super fun. How much do you Smith machine JM press? So for total weight, the most I was up to was 250. So for most Smith machines, that would be 2 plates and a 25 and a 5 or something on each side. In my Smith, it's only 2 plates and a little more because I don't have counterweights. So the bar itself is 60 pounds rather than 5 to 15 on a normal Smith with the counterweights. I don't know if I saw you because I had to click off, but what should I do about leg extensions burning like hell compared to other exercises? Usually that subsides after at, I'd say at most like 2 months of consistent training on leg extensions. Then you'll kind of just that burn will dissipate quite a bit. You can just go lower reps too, but usually the machine will kind of max out pretty soon. You have to listen to Clips's latest album. It's a 10 out of 10. I don't even know Clips. I never really listened to rap. Yeah, I guess I'd say it's mostly some of it's a generation thing, some of it's just preference, and some of it's like the people you hang out with. Like if the people you hang out with don't listen to rap, you're less likely to listen to it. But I can see why people wouldn't like it. But for me, like as someone that was super into like hockey and I was super high energy, like I've always been like kind of quieter and a little more low key, but I've always been like very driven and focused and like a go-getter with like physical ventures like lifting and hockey. So I liked the energy that rap brought a lot of the time. You couldn't really get that elsewhere these days, at least. A lot of pop is like super mellow and corny and lifeless. Do you listen to MF Doom? No, I never got into him. I listened to Mad Villainy, is it? Briefly, like for the most part, one time through, but never, I didn't go back to it enough to like get the real lesson when you like actually start to understand it and understand the concepts and stuff. Have you listened to Jid? Yes, I cannot believe how much he blew up. Holy moly. I listened to him when the Never Story came out. That was in like 2017 or 18, I believe. Also was listening to him during that 2018 lifting video. We used to listen to Never, was it Ed and Eddie, one or two other songs on that album too. And then when DiCaprio 2 came out, that's one of my favorite albums of the 2010s. Super, super, super underrated. And then he absolutely blew up a couple of years ago, just kind of seemingly out of nowhere. Someone should give you a WWE contract. I mean, I feel like that's so far outside of my wheelhouse. I'd be like the most boring person up there. Way too monotone for that. Have you ever trained to ambient music? It's truly life-changing. I haven't, but I've noticed that music with lyrics and singing, rapping, whatever it is, I get sick of pretty quick. Do you listen to Blade? No. Is there a legit reason to cut below 15% body fat? I personally don't like the look. No. My top music artists in general: FKJ, Tom Miss, Yusuf Days, Masego, Capiak, Tim Atlas, DJO, Slender Bodies, Orange House. Haven't heard of a single one, but I'll keep them in mind. Jid best rapper than Kendrick. Right now, maybe. I mean, I haven't listened to either of their most recent albums or even their most recent 2 or 3 albums. Used to listen to metal, but gets old quickly. Yeah, yeah. I love Metallica. Always have a soft spot for them, but it's very much like listen to it in phases. Mostly listen to rock. Yeah, rock is good. I like a lot of classic rock. Like Led Zeppelin's awesome. DiCaprio 2 is a goat, working out and off the Zoinkies. Yeah, that whole album is so good. Slick Talk, I think, is the best off that album, though. Just such a unique beat. Never Story's goated album. Yeah, it's pretty solid. I wouldn't. It's not in my like top albums, but I do like it. It's solid. I'm headed to the gym right now. The goal is to hit chest, back, and triceps. What 5 lifts would you do? For chest, back, and triceps, I'd pick selectorized machine chest press. I would do a T-bar row. I do a lat pull down. I would do, let's see. For the triceps, I'd probably do an overhead extension. And then you have one more of choice. So whatever's a weak link, I would add to either lats, traps, pecs, or triceps. For myself personally, I'd do maybe power shrugs. Hereditary Goat. Yeah, it was a good song. I don't remember anything about it at all, but I do remember it's on the album. Feel JM in chest unless I keep elbows up like a French press in the Smith. If you feel it in your pecs, your bar path is a little low and your grip's probably a little wide. So bring your grip inside shoulder width. When people hear shoulder width, they go outside of shoulder width for some reason. Your shoulder joints are much narrower than you think. So like my shoulder joint is like right here. It's inside the side belt. So if I want to go shoulder width grip, it's like this. Like that's shoulder width, not this. So go narrower, bar path instead of mid pecs, bring it up to your chin. Don't tuck your chin like this because then your bar path's going to sink. That's my best advice for you. And it is fine to feel it a little bit in your chest too. Linkin Park is out of this world, slightly before my time as far as their peak goes. Boomer Rock is the best. It unironically is so good. Kendrick fell off so hard after the Drake beef. His new stuff is so lifeless. From what I've heard, yeah, I kind of agree. But I haven't heard enough. And it's like with someone like him, it's hard to just listen to and kind of listen to it mindlessly. Like there's always a little bit something deeper, but it honestly seems like these days there's not that much stuff that's deeper. But like his fanboys will kind of act like there is. You're more jacked than half of the WWE roster. You should join the tryouts this year. I don't think I would do well in it at all. You follow NFL or NBA? No, I followed the NBA for like 2 years when I was in high school or middle school, and then the NFL, I followed it for 1 year, my sophomore year of high school, and then I just got bored of it. Like it's hard to explain, but hockey was the first sport I got into, and it's very, very hard to go from a sport that is that fast and has that much play time to something that is just either slower or has less play time, which football and basketball both are. When did you start training? 2016. How does it feel to be jacked? It just feels normal. It's one of the hardest things to explain, but it's just such a slow process that you just get used to it. Like I don't physically feel that much bigger than I did when I started because it was such a slow process. Like it's just odd. It's really hard to explain. Like I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I look jacked. But you don't feel like it until you like see yourself. It's really strange. It's very hard to explain. Because it's like before I got bigger, I was like, oh, if my muscle gets bigger, like I'll always have that mild sensation of knowing my body sticks out to like here or something. But that just never really happens. Like if I close my eyes, I just feel like a normal person. That if I like look at my muscle, I'm like, oh, it's actually bigger than I thought it would be. It's such a strange thing. It's like hard to. It's not something you really feel, in my opinion. It's odd. What was your favorite gym besides the sports center? Oh, Isaac Fox. I was like, I was like, how do you know I went to the sports center? What's up, Isaac? I haven't talked to you in a minute. Um, I would say that gym is probably in like my top 2 or 3 just because that's where I started going. So it's just genuinely so enjoyable, and that's where the progress is fastest. So that'll always hold a place in my heart. And funny enough, I actually went there in like September. I went back to the Cape to visit my parents and see my family and whatnot. And I ended up getting a quick lift in there on my way back. So I would say Besides the sports center, I loved Blast, which is unfortunately a Planet Fitness now, so it doesn't quite hit the same. And then World Gym, which is also closed now in Portland. Such a sick gym. And those are kind of my clear top three, aside from the home gym. How's your lifting been going, Isaac? I love close grip presses. Never been a huge fan of them. Landon, see you doing well. You put me on more than you know, brother. If you ever in Mass or Boston, let me know and we'll lift. Got to get me a t-shirt. Oh, dude, I will absolutely hit you up. Yeah, I'm down there, not super often, but every now and again I am. I'll send you a message or something. You follow me on Instagram. I follow you too, so I'll hit you up. Can you maintain arm size with compounds? No. Once you get to a certain point, no. But I'm not. One of the things is one if you're at a level of arm development where you are unable to maintain your arm size with compounds, they can also be rebuilt. I'm a big believer in being able to rebuild muscle. I'm a huge believer in muscle memory. Why did you get into bodybuilding? Self-esteem, like the process, wanted to be bigger. I just thought it was cool. It's just one of these things where it's like I told the story a handful of times at this point on the channel, but I always thought it was cool ever since I was like a little kid. Like I don't know what it was, but I must have been in like kindergarten or preschool or something. I like saw someone that was jacked, maybe like on TV or like at the grocery store with my mom or something, and I was like, "Oh, that looks sick." And then when I was literally like first grade or kindergarten, I went to Olympia Sports with my brother, and they had a dumbbell rack, and he was probably buying like shoes or like baseball stuff or whatever. I was, yeah, maybe 7 years old, right to the dumbbell rack and just started curling. That's the only lift I knew. I was like a little kid. And I just picked up the heaviest dumbbells I could curl, like these little 8 pound just iron dumbbells. And I still have them. I think they're at like my parents' house or something. It's so funny. I've just always had a weird fascination with it. So it's never, oh boy. It's a lot of messages from one person. Yeah, I just got totally distracted by that, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's just always been something that's kind of fascinated me. So it was never like out of insecurity or just like enjoying the process. It's just always something I thought was kind of cool. Can you tell me a split 6 times a week that just maximizes arms? I don't care much about other muscles much. I'm 6'4", 15-inch arms. I really need big arms. Please don't ignore my comment. Okay, I see you now. Um, 6 times a week. You don't need to be in the gym 6 times a week to maximize arms. I would just do like an arm focused day 3 times a week. And that should be totally fine. Do preacher curls, Smith JM presses, do some overhead extensions and other curl variations. Cable curls are great. And you should be pretty much fine. What do you think about Jeff Nippard's most recent video? I haven't seen it yet, but I have to check it out after this. What's your favorite soy jack? I don't remember him off the top of my head, but I have to say this. I don't think it's an original one, but like this screaming Redditor with like the little thing on his head is absolutely hilarious. I used it in a thumbnail like last year. It's so good. Can someone who started lifting at 27 reach his genetic potential compared to someone who started at late teens? So you can. It is much harder though, because you have a new foundation of comfort levels in day to day life, most likely. So a lot of adults have a hard time breaking out of their comfort zone, where kids, not kids, but like teenagers, where you're still in close proximity to the most recent time you gave an honest physical effort in some type of endeavor, lifting becomes much easier. If you live, especially if you live in the US, where it's a very sedentary lifestyle, not that you can't have a sedentary lifestyle elsewhere, it's just very prominent in our country. But I'd say in most places around the world too, like if you have a very sedentary lifestyle, it's very tough to break outside of that comfort zone. So you have to break that barrier first, and that is much harder to do because you have to do it every single day. So not every single day, but every day that you lift, which is 4 or 5 times a week. So it's very tough, but it is very much doable. There's nothing inherently limiting about your age other than just it is harder psychologically. Just switched to a more bodybuilding style bench from powerlifting. My chest is sore after training bench for 10 years. My chest is sore. LOL. I know that when you finally allow your scaps to protract ever so slightly as you press, you're like, oh, okay, I'm actually getting a little bit more range of motion at my pecs now rather than just like this. It's a nice feeling. What's good? What's up, Justin? When's Boulder Shoulder Series? When I get motivated to do something like that. But I do think it will happen at some point. I'm just in no rush. Block him easier. My rule of thumb on any social media is I'm never going to block anybody. You're a good man. Thanks for the content. I appreciate that. I try my best. I don't like actually like if I tried my best, it would be much better content, but the information's more or less going to be the same. This question finally got answered. Yeah, I'm a patient person too. My lifting's been great. Bulk up to 205, 210 last winter. Oh, that's awesome. Cut down to 190. You sound like me. That's exactly what I did. Not this past winter, but a little before that. Losing strength currently, so I'm adding calories again. Actually started training people myself. We'll connect soon. That's sick. Love to hear it, Isaac. Let any split recommendations if I can't train legs due to an injury. Would like to just maximize upper as much as possible in this time. I would say push pull is what I'd go to if you can't train legs at all. Depends what part of the legs we're talking about. Like if it's a knee injury, you can probably still do hinges, and that way push pull would work. But even if you can't do hinges, push pull still disperses the volume quite evenly. Do you follow MMA, boxing, or other martial arts? I don't. That's something where I would have to get into it myself in order to appreciate watching it. What's your next big physique goal? Will you make a video series like the one with 18-inch arms? Yeah. So the other ones won't be as tangible when it comes to goals because like if I just deleted the channel, didn't listen to anybody and just isolated myself in this gym and the true goals that I have deep inside my heart. I want big traps. I want big delts. That's it. You can't measure those. Just got to look jacked. So those are my goals. They're not tangible. They're not measurable. So instead of having an end goal, I'll likely just have an end date. So I'll do like the 6-month trap series or the 4-month adult series or something. It is hilarious though. People keep commenting, your delts are looking small. Anyways, Road to Boulder Shoulder series. Good morning versus stiff leg deadlift. I'm a stiff leg deadlift guy. I prefer them. What exactly makes you think that person is jacked? Kind of just like traps and delts, funny enough. Yeah, the muscles that I want to get huge are exactly what I think make people look jacked. Funny how that works. No, but in all seriousness, that is what I think. Love your videos. Really helped with resistance profiles, workout selection, time and attention. The Holy Grail J. Impressed love from Philippines. Love it. Thank you so much. Thanks. Sorry for spamming. I'm patient. That's not an excuse to spam again, so no more spamming, but I got you. Time is the limit. It is. Unbelievably jacked. I can't even believe it. Like nobody can. This basement's just utterly shocked. SLDL. Yeah, I'm a big SLDL fan. I just think Everything is pros and cons to everything. So it's like with the stiff leg deadlift, you're getting just that little bit of like trying to avoid your upper back and your scaps from coming too far forwards. And I think just holding that isometrically, it's a unique stimulus you won't get from anything else. And obviously, as far as the posterior chain goes with the erectors, hips, hams, more or less comparable, but there's something a little bit unique about holding the bar. And it's never going to be my favorite lift for the traps or the lats or the terries or anything, but a good old stiff leg deadlift, there's a little something there. More than a conventional deadlift and an RDL, in my opinion. Steve Shaw was saying you're not going to get big side delts without shoulder pressing. You think he's wrong about this or nah? I would say technically speaking, he is wrong. But I would say for most people, they are going to have to do shoulder presses because it is stable, standardizable, and you can track it very easily. And when we're talking about just real life and practice, most people are going to need an overhead press to get big side delts. You have to be super motivated, be super okay with not seeing rapid weight progression to get big with just isolations, which most people aren't. Do you train your grip? I don't. Your channel's a diamond in the rough subbed. Much appreciated. Should poundage progression or frequency be the primary focus of the training? Is more frequency always better? Poundage progression. I mean, they're both important. There can't really be a primary focus in training aside from, I would say, precision, which is it's still not even a focus. It's a combination between technique and effort. But from there, yeah, the structure of a program should be frequency and then volume, variety, and then, progression is an outcome you definitely want to happen in your training. Thoughts on left-right split? I mean, I wouldn't do it, but there's probably science-based guys that are doing that non-ironically. Good morning or SLDL for erector and hamstrings. I think they're about the same. But if we're just talking the two, you could maybe make the case good mornings are better. But I also think it's easier to control your spine when you're holding a bar in your hands than on your back. Just my 2 cents. I'm going to start a channel called Attic Bodybuilding. No, it has to be alliteration. I think that's what it's called. So do Attic Aesthetics. Do you still get sore after workouts? What is the scale 1 to 10? Just curious. By the way, great channel. Thank you. No, I don't get sore. Favorite Marvel character? Never seen a Marvel movie. Grotesquely jacked basement enjoyer imparts wisdom pertaining to hoisting heavy metal. Let's go. That should be my next title of a live stream. Do you find that your forearm extensors fail in some movements? No, I don't. What do you consider the difference between SLDLs and RDLs? Everyone seems to have a different solution. The final answer, I'm going to tell everybody, listen up. Some people have left, but please listen if you're here. An RDL, Romanian deadlift, starts from the top. So you initiate it with an eccentric. You maximize hip bend, or you maximize the range of motion at your hamstrings. And when you do that, the bar will not touch the ground. A stiff leg deadlift, contrary to the name of the lift, it is not fully stiff legs. There's a slight knee bend, but your knees have to be above or slightly behind your ankles relative to the bar. And it is going to be a lot of hips, but your spine, for most people, it will be bending a little bit, just a little, nothing crazy. It's not a Jefferson curl or a Zerk or anything. So that's the difference. RDL starts at the top. You don't touch the ground. A stiff leg deadlift, your legs are mostly stiff. You do start at the ground. They're both excellent for the hamstrings, and SLDLs will give you more spinal erector growth in the majority of cases, in my experience and opinion. Struggle to do RDLs with barbells. I often find I lose tension in hamstrings and feel it in back. It's very hard to lose tension in your hamstrings. You might lose the sensation but the only way you'll lose tension in your hamstrings on RDLs is if your knees track forwards. So you have to keep your shins vertical or keep your knees slightly behind your ankles, and you'll be totally fine. Don't worry quite as much about sensation. If aging wasn't a thing and we could all live in our prime forever, do you think natural lifters could get as big as today's enhanced lifters given enough time? No. Hello from Sweden, best Swedish hockey player of all time. Uh, I don't know. Hampus Lindholm, not biased. No, I do like Anton Frondell though. I don't know enough about Swedish hockey history, but I would say of my generation, it's probably Eric Carlson. You get DOMs, I do not. Unless I make a drastic change or like start training a muscle I haven't trained in a while. Will you live stream a lift session? No, I would just do like a vlog and then upload it after that unedited. Hello from Portugal. How to grow calves. I actually find that Paul Carter's advice on this, as much as he's very much hit or miss, his setup makes a lot of sense because you're loading it at the hips. So it is a straight leg seated calf raise. So you have to do it in a selectorized or plate loaded leg press in the majority of cases, unless you have a specialized machine for this. Bottom half partials, holding the stretch, only going up to parallel. You can go a little bit above parallel, but it's really the top 10 to 25% of the ROM that's disproportionately harder. And if you treat that as your failure, you're going to be leaving stuff in the tank. So the way he goes about it, like that, as I just explained, is what I would go for. Are you pro or anti superset? I'm neither. I'm definitely not pro superset, but if you're in a situation where somebody genuinely dislikes being in the gym for a long period of time, or they're just short on time, then I think it works totally fine. But I am not someone that if someone's asking for a program, I'm not putting supersets in it unless they specifically ask for supersets. Favorite overhead press variations: Smith behind the neck and Smith AD press are probably my top two. Good night, Landon. From India here, it's 1:30 a.m. already. I appreciate you staying up so late to watch the live stream. Get some good sleep. Thanks for joining. How can I get through a plateau for a specific muscle? I'm stuck on all quad exercises. So it's going to depend on the muscle because everything functions a little bit differently. There's a lot of plateaus are usually caused from a weakness being exposed or a mistake being made, and that will vary for each muscle group. So, what I would say is when in doubt, default to chasing two main things: one, chase stability, and two, chase grindy reps. So, find a lift that's very stable, and it doesn't have to be in isolation, but something that makes the quads a prime mover. So, like a low stance leg press, hack squat, pendulum squat, Smith high bar squat. If you don't have access to those machines, those all work really well. Make sure you're controlling everything and make sure at the end of your set you're getting grindy reps, and that's what you want to go for, and that should help break you through a plateau. Adding in a tiny bit of volume can help, but just take it one set at a time, especially for a lift like squat patterns. As a fellow basement bodybuilder who has a rack, dumbbells, barbells, and cable machines, what's the next piece of equipment you'd get? I would get a landmine T-bar row setup or a T-bar row chest supported machine if you can find one for a good deal. Check the used market too, and a preacher curl. Those are the two main things I would go for. Is seated good morning good isolation kind of lift for erectors? Yeah, I haven't tried it. That's something I'd have to experiment with to see, but on paper, it should be a good lift for him. OMG, never seen a Marvel movie. I know, I know, it's insane. There's a lot of things I've like never done. Kind of live under a rock. Hello from England. Love your channel. For side delts, would you say a heavier standard OHP is better than a lighter behind the neck OHP or a bit of both? Um, they're going to be similar for side delts. Yeah, they're going to be similar. I'd probably opt for the behind the neck press. The amount of weight you're using won't really matter that much. It's the reason you're going to be a little bit weaker on the behind the neck press is because it's going to be just less pec involvement. As silly as that might sound, you can't really arch much on it since your head's in the way. Did you answer any long questions from the original community post? No, I didn't. I was just going to do live stream for this one. Alex Leonidas is 5'5", and I believe achieves 17-inch arms at a comparable body fat to when Landon achieved 18 inches. Yeah, I think he got a little over 17 actually, but either way, it's roughly that. Yeah, I was probably 22% body fat. I'd guess 23 maybe when I achieved 18-inch arms. Do you think upper, lower, or full body every other day is better? Thanks, man. They're just different, and that's pretty much how most splits are going to work. There's not really a better or worse. There's just a lot of different. Like some things will benefit more from some splits at the expense of other things. What do you think a good arm measurement goal would be for shorter lifters? It depends. It's quite genetic, but if we're talking about like an end goal, 17 inches is probably pretty solid. I hit 18 and I wouldn't say I'm short, but I'm definitely not tall. I'm 5'8", but I have a crazy, crazy, crazy wingspan. Are single arm preacher curls done on an incline bench good enough? They're very solid, yeah. I don't like them as much as a more stable preacher curl with an easy bar, but that is like when I make programs for clients to train at home, those are in every program. I have a feeling that you like Warhammer 40K, do you? I actually don't know what Warhammer 40K is. Have you ever tried rest pause training? I used a rest pause superset of leg presses and leg extensions. It cured my patellar tendonitis while maintaining quad growth. I have tried it, but not for super extensive periods of time. But that's awesome to hear it cured your tendonitis. That's very interesting. Karako Najimi, he hasn't updated his stats in like a year, but last I checked, he was 17.2, weighing 185 instead of 192, where he was when he made the video. That sounds about right. Yeah, he's talking about Alex Leonidas' stats there. I believe he's correct. How do you measure your arms? Like that changes from day to day. It won't once you get used to it. The biggest thing here, use a mirror and just make sure your arm is lined up. So what I do, I just hold my arm in front of me like this, and then just look in a mirror and make sure the tape is going like this, and it goes right over the bicep peak. And like it would be, I have a digital tape measure, and by the day, the fluctuation would be about 1/20th of an inch. With my digital measure that goes down to the 100th. I measured every single day on the road to 18-inch arm series, and if you just do it every day, you'll 100% do it the same way every time, especially with a digital measure or one that actually loops around and connects into the other side. It's not nearly as tedious as you would think. Other muscle groups, yeah, especially the cone-shaped areas like the forearms and quads or even the torso. But for things like the upper arms, the calves, glutes, neck, stuff like that, you can be pretty standardized with. You do live under a rock. Interesting. I do. I'm underground, right? Thoughts on training while sick? Not a fan of it. I'd say go for quality and take an extra day or two of rest. Advice for targeting the middle back rhomboids area. I have well-developed lats, but the freaking hole in the middle of my back. Rows. So chest supported T-bar rows are excellent, and seated cable rows. Just focus on retraction, and that will help you quite a bit. What age do you think is too late to start lifting to reach your muscle genetic potential? It's going to depend on the person. Because somebody that has to lose weight and has joint issues and had a sedentary job, like that person's age would be much lower than somebody that was like a pro athlete. Like, let's say you take like some NHL player that retires at 37 and then wants to get into bodybuilding, like that guy, that guy's going to reach his potential, or maybe not quite, but he'll get pretty close. Versus someone that's like never played sports in high school, never played sports in college, worked a sedentary job, is overweight, has a bunch of joint issues, and doesn't know how to push themselves physically. That person would need a lot more time to be able to reach their potential. So it's going to depend a lot on the person. It's hard to answer that question. Do you train your neck? Does it look like I train my neck? I don't. What piece are you using during the recent videos during the side raises? I cannot believe this is the first time somebody's asking that question. We're nearly 2 hours in. Um, so what I used there, it's the Titan Fitness mini farmer's walk handles. They're not sponsored by me or anything, although that would be great if they sponsored me because I love some of their home gym equipment. But Titan Fitness mini farmers handles. That's exactly what they are. There's really no benefits to them. It's just easier for me to load since there's only one pin you load them on instead of two with the adjustable dumbbells. And you can load in smaller increments since there's just one pin. So I can load in 2.5 pound increments rather than 5 pound increments. And that's as simple as that. No benefits or anything. Wow, I can see your muscles from inside the shirt. Good. When you look jacked through clothes, that's a good sign. I've had some experience with chest supported dumbbell rows on an inclined bench to replace a T-bar. Do you think it's a good sub? It's okay. The benefit of a T-bar row isn't the chest support as much as it is the length and biased resistance profile. And the dumbbells will be the opposite of that because you're just the resistance profile is flat, so you'll just be getting the short bias strength curve. So what I would do is, if possible, try and do a landmine row with a barbell, and that will resemble a T-bar row better than a chest supported dumbbell row would. I'd opt for the resistance profile over the chest support, basically. But it's a chest supported dumbbell row is still a fine lift. Are aluminum pulleys worth it for a home gym? Somebody mentioned this right at the start of the stream. It I would assume yes. If your cable station is kind of like a cheaper one, I would assume yeah. Like there's a very clear difference between a home gym quality cable pulley and a commercial gym. Very clear difference. I didn't really notice it until I went back to a commercial gym, but they're still good. Like I haven't done it, and I've been making fine gains on it. But it might even not have that big of a difference in terms of actual gains. I just prefer the feeling of the smooth commercial gym one. How do you approach pausing at the bottom of a lift? What considerations will make you pause during certain lifts but not others? I'm not a fan of pausing actually. So I can't think of any instance where I pause at the bottom intentionally. So there's really nothing that would make me want to pause unless I was super strong and just trying to standardize range of motion. Like an RDL, if I want to standardize things or prove that I have control at the bottom, I do it then. But for the most part, I just like touch and go. All right, we're at 158. I was going to do about 2 hours here, so I'll answer a couple of these questions that I haven't got to quite yet. And I'm doing a last call after this. I'll get through everything until a certain point. So last call, send it with the questions. Go for it. If you have one that you're thinking of, send it. I'll do my best to answer it. We're going to do some rapid fire here. All right. Let's see what we got. Can you get away with having no hip hinges and squat patterns in a program? If we're talking about like complete leg development, no, I don't think so. Thoughts on upper lower for upper body, yes. For lower body, no. Thoughts on upper lower arms, lower upper. It's fine. If you need an arm day, it's fine. I had some good experience with chest supported dumbbell rows on an incline bench. Oh yeah, that's already a question that's been asked. Favorite tricep exercises without cables and Smith machine lateral knockouts. Don't say barbell jam press. So If I had to pick one, I'd probably just say a barbell. No, I'm just kidding. What I would do here is a very underrated one is a dumbbell pullover. It sounds insane when you think about it at first, but the long head of the tricep gets hit really, really well that way. A seated overhead extension with a dumbbell works really well too, as long as you keep your elbows up high. And I would actually say skull crushers are good. Diamond push-ups are fine too if you're pretty limited on equipment, and that will mimic a JM press. How would you address a spinal erector imbalance that's too big to ignore? Do you mean side to side? Like that's a funky imbalance. I don't think I've ever heard of something like that. But if you're talking about they're just weaker than everything else, just do SLDLs. Like simple as that. Don't overthink it. If you could go back in time, would you avoid doing as much free weight exercises, bench, deadlift, squat in favor of machines? Definitely, yes. Thoughts on stopping shoulder exercise if you're looking for a more golden age look? I feel like I respond too well with shoulders now. I'm mostly focusing on arms, calves, traps. It can work fine if you have wider shoulders. I find for most natural lifters, though, you do need bigger delts to look jacked. Enhanced guys can kind of get away with it, but for naturals, I do find that just my personal preference, you do have to have bigger shoulders, or at least train them so they don't make you look smaller. But it's very subjective, I think, because we're basing it off aesthetics, not totally based on size. How to perform shrugs, range of motion, tempo, strict loose technique, etc. So for a standing barbell shrug, I like power shrugs. So just go a little heavier than you can handle and use that leg drive to assist you on the concentric. Use only as much leg drive as you need to get the concentric up. Control the eccentric, but don't go super slow. Just have it under control. Pause in a super deep stretch for 1 full second. Rinse and repeat. That's what I'd do. What do you think about short resting mid set, at least challenging position to get more reps? I'm not a fan of it personally because the more reps doesn't get you more stimulus. It just pushes failure farther back. So you just get more fatigue for at best an equal stimulus. When you approach your sets, you want to think about chasing down those grindy reps, not chasing down a total rep count. Are dumbbell pullovers superior to cable pullovers? For the triceps, yeah, I do think so. Have you had tendonitis issues? If yes, how do you cure the areas? I've not had tendonitis. Thoughts on cable lat prayers? Not a huge fan of them. Thoughts on having weighted dips and pull-ups as main pressing and pulling lifts in a program? They're fine. Not my top choice, but they're good lifts. How would you vary your routine for novice, senior, 60 years old? What should our expectations be? I don't know if I'd necessarily modify anything. I'm trying to think. I don't think I'd change anything off the bat. It kind of just depends more on the individual than your age. Is the machine preacher different to free weight? Yes, very different. It's not the same lift, so it's not a machine, or it's not a lift where the machine is superior to free weight. It's actually the other way around, unless you have like a prime machine, which most people don't. Do pull-ups and one-arm dumbbell rows grow the upper back enough? You'll get sufficient growth, but if you want to maximize the traps and upper back, you'll probably want a bilateral row at least. Ideally a T-bar row, but doesn't necessarily have to be. Thanks for answering my questions. No problem. Thanks for joining. What do you think about a full body every other day, one hardcore set per muscle group per session, totaling 3 to 4 muscle per week? It could be fine. You're going to have to be very good at those lifts, and you're going to have to pick good lifts, though. So you basically have no room for error is what I'm trying to say, but it can work. Ever got stretch marks in a mass gaining phase? Oh, yeah. I have them like crazy. I used to have them on my biceps when I was in high school when I first started lifting. They just looked like these like bright red little lines like on each bicep. And then I have them bad like in my pecs and then on my lats. They're pretty wild actually, but I'm proud of them. Favorite cable attachments for triceps? I like my Granite Fitness flat tricep push down bar quite a bit. I'm training for one arm push-ups. That's pretty sick. Neutral pull-ups instead of neutral pull-down. They're comparable. I personally prefer the pull-down a little bit. I find it a little bit easier to just focus on actually training the lats instead of just getting your chin over the bar and your scaps upwardly rotate. But that's a kind of nitpicky thing. How do you judge whether you had a good workout? Sometimes numbers will go down, but I don't feel it was a good. Sometimes numbers will go up, but I don't feel like it was a good session. Little pump, no muscle stimulus, and so on. So, the quality of a session comes down to your technique and your effort. Um, Progression will fluctuate. So, think about it as the stimulus you get. How many grindy, challenging reps did you get? How potent was the work that you did? And that's basically what it comes down to. Standing dumbbell curls for the win and looking like a badass. They're a great lift. They're in like my second tier of bicep lifts. A goal weight instead of body fat percentage when doing bulks and cuts. Yeah, definitely go based on your weight because body fat percentage you're gonna kind of have to guess on. It just gets weird. How do you feel about training biceps every day or every other day? You'd probably run into forearm splints, I would assume, but it is potentially possible. Just pick lifts that are kind of forgiving, and probably be a little conservative with your preacher curls and stuff, and you're probably gonna be fine. Advice for breaking through an OHP plateau. I would reset your technique and keep your rib cage down, create more separation between your humerus and your torso. That's the main thing I'd focus on. Usually, when people run into plateaus, it's because they're arching way too much and they're just getting their pecs involved. So that's kind of the main thing. So ironically, you're going to have to decrease the weight in order to do that. So keep everything down, and your delts are going to create separation between your torso and your humerus. So if you're just doing this the whole time, you're not actually creating that much separation. So that's the main thing. It's going to suck to go down in weight, but you'll feel your delts more and they're going to grow better. And then, sure enough, you'll be stronger. Can you front lever? No. Ever deal with headaches on leg days? Recurring problem for me. Unfortunately, that kind of sucks. I wish I had advice for you. I've like never had a headache before, except like if I'm hungover or something, which is quite rare. Do you like power raises for this rear side delts? I do. Hell yeah. Thanks, boss. Thanks for joining AP. First time catching one of these streams. What do you recommend for rear delts? Reverse cable flies, cross body single arm, or a lying power raise is really good. So with the cable raises, what you can do, set the cable just above head height, cross body. So grab a strap or a D handle or something, grab the cable, keep your arm all the way locked, fly cross body all the way like this until the cable taps like your upper pecs, clavicles, and neck area, come all the way back across just like this. Avoid rotating in or away, avoid tilting, just keep your torso still, grind it out, and those work super, super well. All right. Everybody ask one final question. I'm going to pick one question, going to answer that, then I got to hop off. I'll give you 30 seconds, and I'm going to pick one. Oh, good timing. Just got a low battery notification on this thing. All right. Let's see. So, final question I'm going to pick. Let's read through them all. Bye. Love you. Love you, Geometry Cube. Thanks for joining. Let's see. Let me pick one for you. Would you be friends with someone who's not jacked? Absolutely not. Sorry if any of my friends are watching. There was one good question here that was about DOMs. Oh yeah, so if you don't get DOMs, how do you know when to adjust volume? So your volume adjustments should not be based on your muscle soreness. Uh, Soreness is more so correlated with novelty, whether it's position, tension at a certain length, or just a new exercise in general. And a lot of those will have some overlap too. When it comes to adjusting your volume, it should be mostly based on your progression in the gym and your progression in actual muscular size. So don't worry about DOMs. If you're chasing soreness, you're just going to be rotating your lifts all the time. So don't worry about that. All right, that is all I got for you guys. So I'm going to peace out of here. I will talk to you guys in the next one. Probably do these once a month or so, but I appreciate everybody joining today. Thanks everybody for the super chats. It means a ton. And I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be up at some point next week.